Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, it would be tremendous if you did that while you're here. Let's get into it today. With the order now set, we're going to mock this beat through the lottery with rotating picks. This, of course, a mock draft 2025 NBA draft. I'm going to select first. Then Norlander, then back to me. I'm going to take Cooper Flagg number 1 on behalf of the Dallas Mavericks. Spoiler alert. But before we get to that, Norlander, let me ask you this. Yeah. How do you feel about the Mavericks winning the lottery? I don't like it. Do you like it?
I think it's absolutely hilarious. I love it. I do. I think this is so funny. I think the fact that now that we've gotten to this point, and I was watching last night, and we go into the commercial break, and it was Charlotte, and we'll try to get to Nada's Hornets maybe around the 4th pick, see how he feels about that turn of events there. But it was Charlotte, it was Philadelphia, it was San Antonio again. We'll get to the Spurs on that. I feel like no one's paying attention to the fact that the Spurs just got a top 2 pick. And then Dallas, I was like, is Dallas really going to get this? Dallas did. Not only did Dallas get it, and I find it hilarious, tied the 1993 Orlando Magic for the largest jump from where you were odds-wise before the lottery to what you wound up with. It was a 10-spot jump for Dallas, just like Orlando back in 93. Mavericks with a 1.8% chance to get that done. By the way, just a year ago, the only other jump that was either 9 or 10 spots was the Hawks, when they had a 3% chance, and they jumped 9 spots to get the number 1 pick there. So yeah, I find it to be really funny. And this is now just the 2nd time ever in franchise history that Dallas will have the number 1 pick. Trivia time. Did you see it? Did you hear it? Who's the other number 1 pick in the history of Dallas's franchise?
Not Luka Doncic.
Not Luka Doncic. And happened the year I was born.
Oh, the year you were born.
Yeah.
So okay. It sounds like that would have been Anthony Davis.
Yes, I'm a 13-year-old podcaster. Hi, I'm growing so quickly.
You are tall for your age.
I was born after I started the podcast. No, 1981. Mark Aguirre, straight out of the phone.
Mark Aguirre. Of course, it was Mark Aguirre.
Come on, Mark Aguirre. So, yeah, I find it to be the funniest possible outcome, and you know the inevitable avalanche of Nico jokes and the thing is rigged. I don't really feel like the NBA would feel obligated to rig this thing for what, the 8th, 9th most important market franchise in the league.
It's so stupid. Like, if you out there, if you say or tweet that the NBA draft lottery is rigged, I immediately just assume you have a low IQ. Like it just makes no sense. Like, it would be so bad for business to ever get caught trying to rig the NBA draft lottery, particularly on behalf of a franchise that gave away Luka Doncic. Like, what are you even talking about? I can't speak to 1985 and things that went on back before Norlander was born. But in the year 2025, they're not rigging the NBA draft lottery.
Well, in the live chat, we've got a hashtag NBA rigged right now. So come on in, everyone. Come on in. And by the way, the Ignata will chop up some of the parts of this episode, distribute them as standalones on YouTube. I look forward to the inevitable waterfall of the NBA is rigged in that comment section too. Very, very much.
Over the years, with the help of, work, I've tried to slow down on just pointing my finger and calling people stupid and calling people idiots and everybody's dumb. Like, I've really taken that down a notch or 7. But I feel comfortable saying that if you are out there genuinely believing the NBA draft lottery is rigged, you're an idiot. It's just a stupid thing to believe. Okay, it's just a dumb thing to think. So like, stop thinking that, or at least understand that the rest of us think you sound silly when you say things like that.
Although, if you are a Jazz fan, you got to believe that it might be rigged against you, because, and before we go right into the Maverick stuff, how about the fact that Utah was, tied for the best odds? I guess technically it was pre-draft position of number 1, even though they had flat percentage there at the top. It dropped to 5th overall. the Wizards, the furthest back the Wizards could drop, and if you're a Wizards fan as well, although, happy for Cooper Flagg that he didn't get sent to DC, because that would have been just professional purgatory. They dropped all the way to 6, but the Jazz, this got passed around last night. I'll drop it here and still wait instead of wait until we got the 5th pick, and then we can get going here. The Jazz have not only never had the number 1 pick, the Jazz, since the lottery began 40 years ago, have never bettered their position after the lottery results came out. They've come out flat where they had the 9th best odds and finished 9th in the picking order, where they've had, the 12th best and finished 12th. But they have either remained flat or worsened in the lottery every single time. That's an amazing trend that continued on Monday night when the Jazz wound up dropping down to pick 5th. That franchise has never had the number 1 pick. We'll get to the Jazz in just a little bit, but the Mavericks gain. It's also the Western Conference's gain. Last thing for me here, GP. I think it's fair to say that the NBA has more power, star power, team depth than the Western Conference. And then look what we have here: Dallas and San Antonio. They get the top 2 picks, and as we'll discuss in just a second, I think it's pretty clear here that the top 2 shouldn't be up for debate, and so that only theoretically strengthens the league on that side of the ledger all the more moving forward.
Yeah, when I say the NBA draft lottery is not rigged, I mean broadly speaking, but it's obviously rigged against the Jazz.
Obviously,
I mean that goes without saying. That goes without saying. I just meant like in the other ways that people think it's rigged. It's just not.
When you're a franchise and try and take an entire genre of music called the Jazz, Utah, maybe you've done it to yourself.
You get what you get. So obviously rigged against the Jazz. Obviously rigged against the Jazz. I just don't think rigged anywhere else. Seriously, talk to anybody who's ever been in the room, like when the ping pong balls are being done, and they'll just tell you not only is it not rigged, it couldn't even be done. It's so not rigged. It is so just random and coincidental. And here's the other thing you got to remember. Yeah, the Mavericks only had a 1.8% chance to win the lottery, but even the teams that were, quote, supposed to win the lottery aren't really supposed to win the lottery. They only have 14% chances. So, yeah, Washington, Charlotte, whatever, they've got better odds than anybody else, but still not good odds. So, like, nobody has ever actually – it's a little bit like, Juan Soto's at the plate. He's amazing. He probably has a better chance to get a hit here than anybody else. But he's still not supposed to get a hit here. The percentages are against him. Same thing with the NBA draft lottery. It's a random thing that comes out randomly. Congratulations to the Mavericks. But in all seriousness, I don't like franchises being rewarded for stupidity. The only reason you're in the lottery is because
hold on, who's stupid now? They traded Luka for Anthony Davis and the number 1 pick, which becomes Cooper Flagg. See, that's what we call 6D chess, my friend.
I've seen that out there, and I can laugh along with it. But you could be sitting at a blackjack table holding 20 against a 6 and hit and get an ace and land on 21.
That's exactly what this is, by the way.
Yes. You could hit, okay, Dealer's got a 6, you got 20. What do you want to do? I'll hit it. What? You want to trade Luka Doncic? You want to hit 20? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, ace, 21. Amazing.
I suggest you hit, sir.
That was still the dumbest. As somebody who perfected the Chumba Casino game throughout the winter. I went a whole winter unable to speak in complete sentences without losing air.
Correct. Remember when you almost died on the podcast 3 weeks in a row?
Yes.
And you were like, I'll just do another show. I'm like, you don't have to do this. Like, no, I'm good.
Dude, I almost die every season. It's not even unexpected anymore. One day I'm going to die in the middle of the season, and everybody's going to be like, man, I saw this coming. He actually held out longer than I thought. I thought we lost him in 22. That's where we're going to be. So you can hit 20 and get an ace and be like, look how well this worked out. But it doesn't mean it was smart. In fact, it still means it was just as dumb as it was the day that you did it. So who's the idiot now? Is that what you asked? The guy, still the same guy who traded Luka Doncic for unreliable Anthony Davis. But congratulations on getting lucky with some ping pong balls. Now you get to draft Cooper Flagg. And this is going to be a thing. I think it already is. Like, do you trade Cooper Flagg if you can get into the Giannis deal?
No. This is not for them. It better not be.
I promise you they will at least talk about it.
Oh gosh.
I mean, in all seriousness, if you want to double down on our championship window is now and it's immediate and it's Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson, well, Giannis does give you a better chance to push that through right now than an 18-year-old does. That's undeniable.
Yeah. All right. I'm not getting any Giannis traits. Listen, I understand what Shams is doing. Like, that's clearly coming from Giannis's camp to a certain extent, but like, he's now open to the possibility of maybe exploring free agency for the first time. I don't know what that is. So like, has he truly never, whatever. We're not doing this. All right. If we need Sam Vecini, we'll try to get to him before the end of the show to get a little more on Giannis. But all right, let's go right into it. Obviously you've got Cooper Flagg to the Mavericks at number 1. And you know, during the season, for the most part, this is by design. You know, we try and, as a college basketball podcast predominantly, and then we kind of switch over to be an NBA draft podcast, at least in a part-time capacity for, you know, the better part of 2 months here after the end of the season. But we don't go too deep into NBA prospect talk or draft talk, because that's not what our audience is looking for during the season. But now that we're here, like, let's at least talk a little bit about Flagg. He's going to go number 1. This is not debatable. Don't even tell me we're going to look up in a month from now and say we've got an actual competition here, because there's really no case for it whatsoever. We've seen what all of these prospects are, what they can do. It doesn't guarantee that Cooper Flagg will be the best player in this class. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about going in to the end of June with this draft. It is obvious. It is non-negotiable that Cooper Flagg has the highest ceiling, the highest floor, is the most well-rounded player, and is the clear-cut number 1 prospect in this class. So those are the broad parameters here, GP. But add what you'd like here on the Mavs getting Flagg and anything that comes with it.
First, I would like to formally announce it, if you would.
Okay, formally announce it. Yeah.
If you would allow me that opportunity. Okay. It's not every day I get to sit here and pretend I'm Adam Silver. You could shave your head every day and throw on glasses.
You actually could if you wanted to.
It don't make you Adam Silver.
Glasses got to change a little bit, but you could walk around being a mini Adam Silver if you wanted to.
Okay, I'm going to try to turn into a mini Adam Silver right now.
Okay. Yeah, for those not watching, he's trying to suck in his cheeks and chin. That's.
Well, Adam Silver, he's got a very thin. He's got a thin face.
He does.
I'm struggling to get my face as thin as his.
Yeah. We're all on a journey. Okay.
We're all on our hey, we're all running our own race.
That's right. Announce the pick.
With the first pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Cooper Flagg from Duke University. That's the way they would do it. I wouldn't double check this morning. I wouldn't watch Palos.
Yeah, you had to double check. It's pretty obvious.
Well, would you have known it's specifically from Duke University, not forward from Duke, the Duke Blue Devils?
It's positionless. No, Duke University. They always say they say the name of the university proper.
Yeah, that's right. So do I. And that's the way I do it as well. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. He's the no-brainer number 1 pick. It does not mean he will be the best player from this class, although the smart money would suggest that's the most likely outcome. It's a little bit like Zion Williamson had to be the number 1 pick in the draft. There was no serious discussion about anybody else. It doesn't mean that he's been the best player from that draft or ever was going to be, but there was no debate at the top. If you won that lottery, you had to take Zion. There's other things like that. Obviously, LeBron James, when the Bulls win it, Derrick Rose. I know how it turned out. I still think you go back in time, there's not really a conversation to be had. Greg Oden has to be the number 1 pick, even though Kevin Durant was amazing. And this is like that. Cooper Flagg is the best prospect. He was the best college basketball player. He's going to be able to impact winning on both sides of the ball. a high floor, tremendous ceiling. This, if you're going to keep the pick, you know who you're using it on, and regardless of which franchise would have won that lottery, they would have used it on the exact same guy. It's Cooper Flagg from Duke University.
Rare is the number one pick that goes on to win a national title, that goes on to win an NBA championship with the team that drafted him. It's only happened 4 times in the lottery era. Lottery era lines up perfectly with the NCAA tournament expanded era. So since 1985, those 4 players are Kyrie Irving, LeBron James. So those 2 were teammates when they did it. And the other 2 teammates did it when they did it as well. Duncan and Robinson with the Spurs. So only 4 times as a number 1 pick. So keep that in mind as well. Doesn't mean Flagg can't or won't be the 5th one to do it, or perhaps someone that's previously been drafted number 1 doesn't ultimately go on and do it. You've got Wembanyama. Obviously, we'll see what the Spurs can do in general. But with what he provides here, yeah, I mean it's quite obvious. I think his floor to me is. Floor would be, and worst case scenario, again, barring injury, we're removing all of that, particularly coming off of what looked to be like a pretty severe Tatum injury on Monday night. And by the way, keep this in mind as well as we talk about the lottery and number 1 pick and number 2 pick and number 3 pick. Just remember, it's always good to just keep it at front of mind. Like Jalen Brunson waited until the 2nd round. Was drafted by the Mavericks, not there anymore. And he is 1 game away from bringing the Knicks to their first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. So you will get inevitably players that matter, all-star level, outside the lottery. We'll see who that winds up being, 2, 4, 6, 8 years from now. We talked about it at GP with a few episodes back with Jalen Wells with the Grizzlies. I mean, he didn't even get a combine invite last year. He was one of the 3 or 4 best rookies in the NBA this past season. So just always good to keep that in mind. Real quick, just a couple more things on Flagg. He'll be the 5th Duke player that goes number 1 overall. Paolo did it to Orlando in 2022. Zion Williamson, obviously, with the Pels in 2019. Kyrie Irving, 2011 with the Cavs, and Elton Brand also in the building there last night to the Bulls in 1999. If you are watching on YouTube, either live or in what we call breakout video fashion after the fact, if you did not realize, Cooper Flagg led Duke in every single category, or tied statistically in all the 5 major categories: 19.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.4 blocks. Ben Simmons is the only other freshman ever to lead his team statistically in all 5 major categories. I do like Flagg's projection at the next level much more than Ben Simmons. And then Flagg's the first player. Here's a couple of just outrageous notes. He's the first player since Penny Hardaway to average at least 19, 7, 4, 1, and 1 in a season. Not the first freshman, first player, which is actually kind of surprising. I'll say that one more time. The first D1 player since Penny Hardaway in 92-93 to average at least 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and a steal. It's actually genuinely surprising. There hasn't been someone else that's done that since Penny. Flagg did it. And he was the first player in D1 history with at least in one season, 700 points, 250 boards, 150 assists, 50 steals, and 50 blocks. Just an awesome player, really good teammate, super competitive, one of the better help defenders I've seen as a one-and-done player come out in the past 10, 15 years. The shot got better as the year went along. If you're a Mavs fan, obviously be over the moon about this, because he will, I think Flagg's most underrated ability that I project for him is that he will not need to step in immediately and be Dallas's best player or its second best player, maybe not even its third best player, but he will truly thrive in a supporting role as needed as a rookie. He could be the rookie of the year. He could be a revelation immediately. But yeah, the way that he projects out is so special there. As a one-on-one defender, and talking to a few people, throughout the course of the season, but really, through March and since then, his one-on-one defense overall definitely needs a little bit of work. This is just nitpicky stuff. He's an amazing help defender. His instincts there are just outrageously good. But overall, he checks more boxes than any other prospect in this class. And intrigued to see him go to Dallas, and intrigued just to see what happens with this franchise and the Lakers moving forward now that this has become part of the unintentionally, but happened all the same. Now that this has become part of the Luka Doncic Anthony Davis trade, will be intriguing to see 5-10 years down the road where Flagg's career is, where Dallas is, and where the Lakers are as well. All
right. Tell me who the Spurs are going to take at number 2.
With the number 2 pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Dylan Harper, Rutgers. When he goes in the top 5, he'll be the first pick from Rutgers to ever go top 5 in the modern draft era. The most recent high pick from Rutgers was James Bailey, 6th in 1979. Harper averaged 19.4 points, 4.6 boards, 4 assists, shot 48% last season. He averaged the most points by a freshman in the Big Ten since Eric Gordon with Indiana in 2007, 2008. And he's only the second Big Ten freshman to ever average at least 19 and 4. D'Angelo Russell was the other one there. I think as we get closer to the draft, we might well be here now. But in the past few days here, GP, knowing we were going to do a mock and starting to make a few more calls, do a little more of a deep dive and trying to kind of transitioning to draft season. I think if you want to put Flagg tier 1, that's fine. I think tier 2 is a 1-player tier as well, and I think it's Dylan Harper. I think after that, then you get into an interesting conversation. I think there is a chance. Talked to 2 people on Monday. I think there's definitely a non-zero chance that by the time the second pick has come, or by the time we get to draft night, there is a scenario in which San Antonio could try and trade this pick, maybe trying to get Giannis, and who that would involve. That's obviously, we're not going to get too much into that. So just keep in mind that's a scenario that some people think is out there. And the idea that you have Wemby and Giannis on the same team with San Antonio would obviously be super fascinating. But I'll tell you what, Dylan Harper, you'd play him with, in the scenario, if you don't trade it, you get De'Aaron Fox now, Steph Castle. I actually think all 3 can play together. Really, really good talent. He was on a team that didn't make the tournament along with Ace Bailey. But if you watch what Harper was capable of doing, he actually battled some illness there that kind of sidelined him for a little portion of the season as well. Just really, really good instincts. And, the fact that his father played, Ron Harper, most famously on the Bulls title teams there, I actually put stock into that as well. I think there's something really to be said about players who come from parents that play professionally. And yeah, I love Harper. I've come around on him. I was, 2-3 years ago when I first saw him, I really liked him. Then I kind of fade a little bit, just relatively speaking. Is he going to be, top 3 pick? Is he more in that 5-8 range? I'm all the way back now. I think he is on a tier 2 himself. I've got him going 2 to San Antonio.
I would also have him going 2nd. I'm less certain that he's in a tier by himself. I do think Cooper Flagg is tier 1 all alone. You don't even think about anybody else at number 1. I do believe Dylan Harper should go number 2, but I would consider other people there. Among them, the guy that I'll have the Sixers taking 3rd. So with the 3rd pick, 2025 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Trey Johnson, University of Texas. This is one where I'm just taking the guy I believe is best player available, best player on the board. Every draft, I try to have somebody that I believe in a little more than what appears to be the consensus. Sometimes it's Kawhi Leonard, and that works out great. Other times it's Marvin Bagley. Doesn't work out so well. Mm-hmm. This time it's going to be Trey Johnson. And I know a lot of people have him in the top 5. I don't think many people have him in the top 3. Most are going to have Edgecombe ahead of him, Bailey ahead of him. And I'm not saying that's ridiculous, but 6'6", shot it incredibly well from the perimeter. Athleticism, he just checks all of the boxes for a prospect. And he wasn't just a good prospect; he was a really good college basketball player. And I know I've seen some people suggest that Philadelphia, when you already have Jared McCain, when you already have Tyrese Maxey, you might not want to go with another young guard. But if they don't go Johnson there, they're probably looking at Edgecombe or Bailey. And as we just found out, Ace Bailey's not as tall as you think. And Edgecombe's roughly the same size as Trey Johnson, even if they get described somewhat differently in terms of, positional stuff at the next level. So I'd be comfortable with it. But more than that, I think Trey Johnson is a top 3 prospect in this draft. And I would take him 3rd if I'm Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're on the same page here, buddy. I'm way in on Trey Johnson. I would also have him 3rd. Love the pick. Official measurements. And by the way, I am we've talked about this in the past. We got something of a time limit here. You are as God made you. Your height is what you are in bare feet. So Trey Johnson is 6'4" and 3/4 barefoot with a 6'10" and a quarter wingspan. VJ Edgecombe 6'4" with a 6'7" and a half wingspan. I'm way in on Trey Johnson. I think he should be the third player picked in this draft. Whether he will be remains to be seen. The SEC Freshman of the Year, led all freshmen in scoring last season. Yes, more than Cooper Flagg, 19.9 points per game, 3.1 rebounds, 2.7 assists. He is the second best freshman to come out of Texas, with Kevin Durant being the best, obviously. He made 89 threes on 39.7% from beyond the arc, and he is poised, if he goes top 5, and I think his best case scenario is probably 3. I cannot see him dropping below 6. I don't think he really has any business dropping below 5, but I love him at 3 there. If he goes top 5, he'll be the first Texas player to go top 5 since Tristan Thompson in 2011. I think he will be a bucket getter, a really, really good scorer, and he will be averaging more than 20 points in not so long of a time here, by year 2, year 3, year 4 in the pros. Love what he can do. Gets a shot all over the floor. That's good stuff there. Let's go to the 4th pick. With the 4th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select VJ Edgecombe, Baylor. Nada, get that mic ready, because Nada obviously knows his Hornets well. So we're going to go to you, obviously, on this as well. He's from the Bahamas, second team All Big 12, was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Would be the first top 5. He's almost certainly going to go top 5. Would be the first top 5 pick out of Baylor in the modern draft era. Averaged 15 points, 5.6 boards, 3.6 assists, 2.1 steals. He was a really, really good player that was on a team that didn't do a ton, and so his star didn't shine quite as brightly as I was expecting going into the season. Only he and Cooper Flagg, shouts to our CBS Sports Research team, they're the only players last season with 30-plus dunks, 50-plus threes, and 100-plus made free throws. Well, what's that tell you? Can get to the rim, can shoot it from deep, can draw contact, shoots it well from the line. A lot to like about Edgecombe. No question about it. I think he can go anywhere from 3. I think his range will be 3 to 5, but I've got him going number 4 to the Hornets. I want to hear from GP first, and then before we move on, I just want to hear from, after GP's done, I want to hear from Nada on the Hornets going from potentially getting the number 1 pick to sliding all the way to 4.
I'll be quick here. I would have Edgecombe going 4th as well. The top 4 prospects we have coming off the board are the 4 prospects I believe I would have coming off the board.
In that order, too.
Yeah. And that makes us collectively a little lower on Ace Bailey than most, but we can get to that next. Nada, you okay with your Charlotte Hornets taking VJ Edgecombe?
I think it's only him and Trey. I think it's him, Trey, and then maybe an outside shot at Knueppel. And I think those are the 3 guys that you're really going to hear involved. As for dropping out of the top 3, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, win more games next time.
Yeah, how about this? Let's tap into this real quick here. Charlotte, Washington, who's all the way down at 6. This is why, our own colleague Jonathan Jones, he tweeted, I don't know if you saw it Monday night, but he's like, man, this is just, when the Mavericks, he's like, get rid of the NBA lottery. This system, this system sinks. I actually, I like that it's set up like this. If you're going to be bad and you think that you can tank out, just know that there are chances that you won't wind up with number 1 or number 2 or number 3. You could get 4, you could get 5, you could get 6 there. Maybe the lottery system isn't absolutely perfect. I'd give you that, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Hornets just seem like they're in a state of perpetual rebuild. Are we going to look up in 2 years and not be talking about the Hornets on a 2027 mock draft? Sorry, Nada, but flip it back on, but that just doesn't seem likely. This franchise just seems like it can't get out of its own way.
The only reason I have any sort of faith is that it's new ownership, new management, and it's not Michael Jordan. He's a minority owner right now. I do believe that things will change, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're talking they're in the top 10 of a mock draft in 2027.
There you go. All right, GP, what do we got?
With the 5th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Ace Bailey from Rutgers University. It was interesting watching the mock draft, the lottery show last night. Shams Charania was interviewing both Ace Bailey and...
You're going to say what I think you're going to say.
But so he's just asking them questions about each other and whatever. And so Ace Bailey is like talking about Dylan Harper. He's like, he's amazing. Like he does this and he does that. And man, wherever he goes, they're going to be great. And then Dylan Harper's asked about Ace Bailey. And he's like, man, I'm telling you one thing. He's amazing. He's incredible. And wherever he goes, they're going to be great. I'm like, all right, timeout. Timeout. If wherever he goes, he's gonna be great, and wherever he goes, they're gonna be great. Why couldn't you guys make Rutgers good?
I know. There is that. I mean,
if you're gonna make an NBA franchise great, and you're gonna make an NBA franchise great, why couldn't you make Rutgers good? I still think that's
not what stood out to me. What stood out to me is that you've got Shams standing next to both of them. Dylan Harper's, 6'4", 6'4.5", and he calls Ace Bailey 6'10", and you look at him and it looks like they got 2 inches separating them. Like,
right.
Dude ain't 6'10".
They just stood there and lied on television about everything.
Rutgers,
you're not as tall as he says. You're not going to make anything great. You didn't make nothing great either. But I like them both. I wowould take them both in the top 5.
Okay, so keep it going though, GP. Well, okay, so we've got Bailey to the Jazz at 5. I'll offer thoughts in a second, but why there? What do you like about him? And yeah,
at some point you just gotta not pass on the potential, on the ceiling, on all the little buzzy words connected to prospects. I hate that he doesn't seem to be interested in doing much more than scoring.
Are you sure you hate that? You seemed like you loved it when the season was going on. You're like, did you see this dude? 32 points and 1 assist.
I like the highlights. The highlights were good, man. I tell you, if me and my boys are going to sit down with the iPad and watch college basketball highlights, we're going to get to Ace Bailey pretty quickly. He's got incredible highlights, but the other stuff is either one of these things would not be shocking to me. In 3 years, Ace Bailey is actually the best player from this draft. That would not be shocking to me. I'm not predicting it, but it would not. I
agree with you. I would not be shocked.
Right.
If we get to that point. That would not shock me. Having seen what he can do and what he's capable of.
Okay, that would not shock me. Ace Bailey is among the most inefficient young players in the NBA, scoring points for a bad team. Also, would not shock me. Either one of those things. His variance is really high.
Yes.
But it's so high in a good direction that I can't let him slip much lower than this. And for a Utah franchise that clearly is just still trying to add difference-making talent on the board at this point, he's the biggest possible difference maker available, I believe.
I think there are 2 players that have the widest variance, and he's one of them. I'll let you know when we get to the next one. We haven't talked about him yet here. Rutgers is going to have 2 first-round picks for the first time in program history this year. Has never happened. Bailey averaged 17.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1.3 blocks last season. He was the only player to rank top 10 in the Big Ten in points, rebounds, and blocks. He and Flagg were the only freshmen to average at least 17 and 7 boards, obviously, in that distinction there. And he's only one of 4 Big Ten freshmen in the past 5 decades to average 17 and 7, specifically out of the Big Ten, joining Magic Johnson, Chris Humphries, and Jared Sullinger. I'm lower on Bailey than I want to be. I do think, yes, if he absolutely hits, then there is a chance. But I could see him kind of blending into the scenery, just being a guy who plays on 3 or 4 different teams, averages 15.5 for his career, is a good scorer, but how much does he impact winning overall? We'll see. It won't necessarily affect the careers of Harper and Bailey that they didn't make the tournament, but I'm sorry, even with the cast around them not being that well built, it is a damning thing on both of them that they are highly likely, borderline locks to both be top 5 picks, and they didn't make the tournament when there are 68 teams that can get there. Again, from an individual skill standpoint, it doesn't really have anything to do with where they're going to get drafted, and we've seen players not make the tournament and go top 3, number 1. Fultz will have that work out. Ben Simmons will have that work out. These are different kind of players, but it wouldn't surprise me overall. On my big board, I don't even have Bailey top 5 because of the variance factor there. But 5 of the Jazz makes a ton of sense. Spinning way forward, if that actually, it's not going to happen. I don't think Bailey will drop to 5. I wouldn't fight against it if it did. But if the Jazz did wind up with Bailey, and let's say the Jazz are in a position next year to draft 1 or 2, and you've got the home, I say the hometown, it's not his hometown, but if you got AJ DeBansa right there in the backyard, that would be an interesting thing from a roster building perspective. Let's keep it moving.
Well, I would just say this. I don't love that they didn't win at Rutgers either, but like Anthony Edwards didn't win at Georgia.
And yeah, exactly. Edwards is another one. Yeah.
So for I don't know that there's. I used to really believe in that. Like I didn't like that Anthony Edwards didn't win at Georgia.
But that's really, like the difference is that it's one player. And they were
right.
2 awesome players, and they couldn't have. I'm not saying it will prevent them from having good careers. It's just super weird to me that 2 dudes that good. It wasn't that they were the first team out of the tournament. They were not close. That team stunk, and they didn't impact winning at the college level in a way where at least a couple people I've talked to, it's not going to prevent them from getting drafted high, GP. It does lift eyebrows. Like, what? Like, what happened here? Like, why could you not have even been a halfway decent team with 2 guys that good?
Yeah, like it went the wrong direction so early that we just kind of like stopped talking about it. But it is still relative to what I thought the sport would look like in October. One of the bigger surprises for me personally of the season that they were so bad because they had 2 great players. Obviously, not enough good stuff around them, but like 2. And they weren't just great prospects. They were like really good college basketball players as well. And the other thing, it's sometimes you'll look at something and you'll be like, yeah, but look who was in charge. But like Steve Pikiell is respected as a quality basketball coach. Like he's not the guy people are talking about. Well, like he's respected. He's accomplished things in college basketball and taken that Rutgers program from nothing to respectable. And so just that combination. Like you just told me, Steve, Dylan, Ace, give me those 3. I'd say that's an NCAA tournament team. I thought it would be. And so I don't love that they weren't able to win, but I also am not sure that it would impact my evaluation of them in any sort of meaningful way, because I did let that kind of stuff impact my evaluation of Anthony Edwards, and I ended up just wrong on him. Like I wasn't like, I wouldn't take him in the lottery. I didn't say anything dumb like that, but I was lower on Anthony Edwards than I should have been. And part of it was that he impacted winning in no way whatsoever at Georgia. And turns out now he might end up in the NBA finals and become the young American face of the entire league.
With the number 6 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Knueppel, Duke University, all freshman team, averaged 14.4 points, 4.0 rebounds, 2.7 assists, shot 48% from the field, 41% from 3-point range. He made 84 threes last season. That was only behind Trey Johnson in volume made from beyond the arc. He was the only freshman in the country to have at least 100 assists and 83s last season. And he is a tremendous complementary piece. I think Knueppel could go anywhere. I think he's probably he could be anywhere from 5 to 8. He's got really good size. I said it on the podcast before. I'll say it again today, and I'll say it before he gets drafted again. His defensive instincts are tremendous. He is a plus defender. He rarely screws up. He understands where he needs to be. He can be a great help defender, good on ball, really good size, really good shooter from beyond the arc. He was the best Robin in college basketball last season. I wrote a feature on him amid Duke's NCAA tournament run. And yeah, awesome teammate, good shooter, really awesome footwork, good handle, can get into the mid-range. And he was a player who, if we would never do this because we don't do mock draft episodes in the start of October. But if we had done one in the start of October, he was on first round radars by then. Not necessarily for sure seen as a lottery pick, but man, he played his role so well. He will kill it in the interview process. I got to know him and his family obviously very well over the course of the season, writing the feature on him. It is a win no matter who picks him. Now I've got him going to the Wizards, GP, which if you're the Wizards, you would gladly take him. I don't see Knueppel as being the kind of guy, like every player to this point that we have talked about, 1 through 5. I can see scenarios in which all of those players wind up at some point being the alpha scorer, alpha player on their respective franchise eventually. Not that they all will not. That never happens. The 1 through 5 are not going to be that. But I can see those scenarios. Knueppel, he could grow into be an all-star player. I don't know if he would be ever will be a franchise player. So I think that might be where the next line you kind of draw off here. But man, oh man, his floor is super high. I think he's got a top 3 floor in the draft, GP. And if you're the Wizards, what are you going to do? Like, I think he can help your winning, but Washington just, it's just one year after another. This is the most helpless, monotonous, forgettable, pathetic franchise that's out there. Almost feel bad for any draft pick that goes there, but eventually, somehow, some way, it's got to turn around, right?
I mean, if you say so.
I mean, theoretically, that's a dagger for the Wizards. 6th pick overall, but I got Knueppel going there, and I think that he is definitely top 6 material.
If John Wall couldn't do it, who on earth could?
That's also fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't notice this as we were doing this last night.
Yep.
In an email back and forth. This is literally the exact order of the mock draft I filed 2 weeks ago.
Nice. So the way we did, just so folks realize this, like we did it over email. GP went first, I went second. We went back and forth. So he didn't know I was going to pick, and I didn't know vice versa. So good deal. Okay.
And so we'll stay on schedule because with the 7th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, I have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Kasparas Jakucionis from Illinois. And this is just me believing that the shooting is better than the shooting numbers showed at Illinois, which is something that I do believe. He's only 32% from 3. That's not great. If he is a career 32% three-point shooter in the NBA, we've got problems. Then this pick did not work out. But so much of the other stuff that was obvious there in flashes is stuff that I just think translates to the NBA. And this is one where I used to get caught up on athleticism, lack thereof. And I still think athleticism is probably the most important thing you can bring to the table in that league. The most important skill these days seems to be shooting. The most important thing, probably still athleticism. But there are non-athletes who can flourish, or at least not top shelf athletes who can still flourish in the NBA by just being smart, knowing how to get to their spots, first step stuff, changing speed stuff. And I think Jakucionis could do a lot of that. This is who I have since early in the college basketball season had him in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And even if he wasn't as consistent as you might have liked and the shooting percentage wasn't where you would want, I think there's enough stuff in his background to suggest the shooting is better. And I saw enough to make me comfortable spending a top 7 pick on him.
We're in harmony here again. I've got him top 8 on my board. I think that he has a wonderful chance to translate and really grow as a professional player. The 3-point shooting was just 31.8% on 170 attempts. He did tail off near the final third of Illinois' season. Obviously, was a 13 all Big Ten player, 15 points, 5.7 rebounds, 4.7 assists last season. Only he and Flagg averaged at least 15, 5, and 4 last season. Lithuanian born and really good IQ for the most part. There were some moments last season where I thought, if you're because there was a time where this guy go top 5, and I think that moment is past. Like for Jakucionis, I think this is probably best case scenario. I think his range is 7 to 13 for him overall. But I do like the way he sees the floor. We've got him going to the Pelicans. From a fit perspective, I can't go up and down every single time. We'll try and get to Vicini before we get to the end of this on every single team need right now. Feels like that's a good fit overall. I'm with you there, buddy, on number 7. Let's go to number 8. With the 8th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Khaman Maluach, Duke University. And so here we have Duke, which was the best team statistically, not in the tournament, but ranked number 1 in most predictive metrics. Shouts to Torvik, obviously. But Duke with 3 top 8 picks in the draft. It would be the 3rd team in the modern draft era with 3 top 10 picks. That's probably going to happen. 2019 Duke did it. also a team that didn't win the title that obviously had Zion. And then 2007 Florida, back-to-back champs, had 3 top 10 picks in the same draft. Maluach to me is the other player I referenced before, the widest spectrum here of what he could be. What? He's got the widest spectrum of what he could be. Why is that funny?
I thought you said the widest, and I was like, what is he talking about?
No, the widest. WIDEST. It's early. So take another swig of your Diet Dr. Pepper before 9 a.m. Central. What are you doing, by the way?
Man, this is good for you.
Hour?
Yeah, 0 calories, man. 0 calories. This is basically like bad. I know people like to get up and drink their orange juice, but like that's just filled with sugar. You want to die? I'm not trying to die. Look at this. This is got to stay hydrated.
Better for you before 9 a.m. Diet Dr. Pepper or some OJ?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 fat. Look at me.
Soda. How do you crack a soda at 8 in the morning? He did this before we fired up the pod. I
am basically right now getting skinny. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm losing weight as we speak. 0 calories. It's like I'm not even doing anything. Except pouring motor oil into my body.
Just the mere decision to be like, yeah, why not? Let's crack it open. Is this a regular thing? You threw
it can be.
It can be. Diet Dr. Pepper 15 seconds before we went live. What are you doing? Is this an everyday thing?
It can be.
It doesn't need to be.
Hey, you think I'm going to take dietary advice from a man who won't put chicken in his mouth?
Yeah, look how it's going.
Hey, how dare you tell me how to treat my body as I spent the entire winter unable to speak coherently?
Hey, GP's he's again, we're all on our own journeys here. You're looking good. You're looking good. He's looking good. Have you run that? Have you tried to run that mile yet, by the way?
No, the closest I've come to running since we last talked is like a cart path only situation.
Okay.
You got to go grab your ball. But pace of play is also important.
Correct.
So I might run 30 yards there, but that's about the extent of it. But look at this. You think that happens without one Diet Dr. Pepper every morning?
Again with the bicep flex.
You think that happens without one Diet Dr. Pepper every morning?
You want it out of here by 10 Eastern.
You think Khaman Maluach? You think Khaman Maluach could do this?
Yes, I do.
I thought you were about to call him the widest something, and I was like, whoa, buddy, where is this going?
Not even close. Now, I do think Maluach's ceiling to floor variance very high. His switchability is ridiculous. Elite defensive high-end ceiling. I mean, just so good. He averaged 8.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, only one. Here's the wild thing: 1.3 blocks last season. Now, for a guy who is as defensively as strong as he is, some of that's impacted by the fact that Duke defensively, it was so big, so large that a lot of the guys, even guys like Proctor, in addition to Flagg and Knueppel, I think there was some of that was affecting his overall numbers there. But man, he is a good lob threat. Now, can he grow into something offensively? That's the question there. But I think just the size of him as a human being, how he will help you rim protecting. But again, he can switch. I mean, I'll never forget the image sitting on press row. This dude switches at the top of the key on Mark Sears, and Mark Sears is in hell. Could do absolutely nothing. Also a really good teammate. Just a fun dude to be around. Just kind of on the intel on the back end there. From the South Sudan, he's set to be the 4th player from the South Sudan to be drafted, following in the steps of Knueppel, Luol Deng, and Thon Maker. So yeah, I've got Maluach to the Nets. Might be a kind of player where when you look at the Nets situation, if he gets drafted, is he the kind of player that truly alters the trajectory, the 1-2 year trajectory of your franchise? I'm not sure, but I do really like the talent, and I don't think he has any business falling outside the top 10. I've got him going here 8 to Brooklyn.
Thon Maker.
Yeah, how about that?
Where do you think he is right now? I mean,
right
now. I mean, in this moment.
New Jersey. I have no idea.
Probably in New Jersey.
You're looking right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what part of New Jersey he's in. No, he's in Beirut.
Okay.
He's in Beirut.
That's what'll happen to you. Man, and just yet again, another reminder. A lot of these guys are very big deals leading up to the draft, and inevitably there just will be some 2, 4, 6 years down the road. Where are they?
Yeah, and it could be Beirut or New Jersey.
It could be Beirut, or it's that classic game, Beirut or New Jersey. You've heard about Alabama or England? We do something else on this show. It's called Beirut or New Jersey.
Everybody think, heading into the lottery, everybody thinks they're going to end up in New York or LA. Sometimes it's Beirut, and sometimes it's New Jersey. In all seriousness, like, we spent years talking about Thon Maker.
I know.
And now he's in Beirut. And like, it will happen to one of these dudes too. Like, it could be Trey Johnson, it could be Derik Queen, it could be Danny Wolf. Who knows? But like, one of these dudes is going to end up in Beirut. We're going to talk about them like they're not going to. But you're going to look up one day and one of these dudes is going to be in Beirut. That's the way the draft works every year. The Raptors are picking 9th, but before we do that, let's get a word from our partners.
Okay. Partner?
She knows, and I know she knows.
Diet Dr. Peppers don't pay for themselves, Norlander. Diet Dr. Peppers don't grow on trees. What if they did, though? What if Diet Dr. Peppers did grow on trees? Wouldn't that be something?
You're up.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. This is just, for me, best prospect available.
Is it, though? What's with the Fears stuff, man? I don't have this dude as a top 15 prospect. Where is this coming from? Honestly, like, he's a solid player. Was an all SEC freshman, averaged 17 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4.1 assists on the small side, has no defensive presence whatsoever. It's just fascinating to me. He's going to go in the top 10, I suppose. I don't consider him to be a top 15 prospect in this draft.
What you are believing in is his ability to change speeds, get by people, just beat folks off the bounce. The three-point percentage is obviously problematic, 28%. And whereas with some other prospects in this draft, Jakucionis, I think, you can look at a not great three-point percentage and just say, I don't believe in that. I think it's better than that. I don't know that you can reasonably do that here. It's got to get better. If it doesn't, this is a terrible pick. But I don't think he's got to be great at shooting it if he can really be as great as some people believe at the other stuff. Like, shooting is more valuable and emphasized than it's ever been in the NBA. I think that's undeniable. But particularly as a league guard, you can still be excellent in that league as a non-shooter. If you're so gifted that people can't stay in front of you. Ja Morant's a wonderful example of that when he is healthy. He is still an unreliable shooter. Everybody knows that. Nobody can stay in front of him. He gets where he's trying to get to. I'm not saying Fears is Ja Morant, but you are counting on him being able to get away from people and get around people in ways that the elite league guards can.
Yeah, his trajectory here has been interesting to watch. I'll also be interested to see once we get to draft night if that's where he winds up or if he falls, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll see. It's inevitable, and nothing against him personally. Just we've got to rank these players. And
it is everybody
you want to make a
yeah.
You want to get out of here? You want to get out of here soon? We got to keep
everybody knows it's personal. One day you're getting personal with Nico Medved. Next day it's Jeremiah Fears. Everybody knows what's going on here.
With the 10th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Derik Queen, University of Maryland. Big Ten Freshman of the Year, 16.5 points, 9 rebounds, shot 53%. The second best scoring freshman in Maryland history, other than a guy named Joe Smith, who once upon a time went number 1 in the mid-90s in the NBA draft. Queen to the Rockets feels like a great situation. This is a franchise, obviously, that had the number 2 seed, got bounced, obviously. But, going into next season, can you keep that 1, 2, 3 spot in the Western Conference? You add a player like Queen, who was on the older side, by the way, not a young incoming pick that was just at a freshman season, but really smart. Does a lot of things well. For his size and what he contributes defensively, obviously you want more, but excellent passer, sees the floor, mature for his age. I also just so happened as this mock draft plays out here, some of the guys we're picking, I wrote features on this year, and Queen was one of them. I have him as a top 10 prospect. I think he should go top 10. I wonder if, we're also talking here as the combine is playing out this week, and some guys will do some stuff and a lot of guys won't do any stuff there, but they all go through the interview process. I think Queen will do well in the interview process and certainly reinforce his potential and candidacy for being a top 10 pick. I think going to the Rockets would be a great situation for him. I think it would be a great situation for the Rockets in that spot to be able to draft a player like Queen, considering fit needs they might have as well. I'm definitely in. I like him a lot, and he should be a top 10 pick. You like the pick, or would you have Queen a little bit lower?
That's definitely in the range. I would have him, like, if I'm looking at the mock draft I filed, whenever the last time I filed a mock draft, I don't have it in front of me, but this is in the range of where I would have him. I also sometimes like to think of myself as mature for my age, but then I recognize I'm wearing a Pee Wee Herman shirt the morning after watching Monday Night Raw.
And drinking soda before breakfast.
0 calories.
Yeah.
0 calories. When I woke up this morning, I had taken in 0 calories, and after I'm done with this entire 12-ounce can, I will still be at 0 calories. I'm like the healthiest this is so healthy what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
11th pick.
There you go.
In the 2025 NBA draft, the Portland Blazers.
What'd you call them?
Trailblazers?
There you go.
Blazers for short. Don't like
Trailblazers for official purposes. If you're going to be silver, you got to know what you're doing here. He doesn't get up there and call them the Minnesota T-Wolves. All right? There we go. Sucking those cheeks. Guarantee you Adam Silver ain't drinking Diet Dr. Pepper at 8:30 in the morning.
I feel very confident, assuming there's no scenario where Adam Silver cracked the Diet Dr. Pepper.
Not happening.
This morning.
You got your pick?
Yeah, I'm going to take Carter Bryant.
There you go.
And this is where I get.
This is where we call a swing, folks.
This is where I'm taking a swing. And this is where I get away from my most recent mock draft, but I will adjust accordingly when I update, I believe, on Wednesday morning. As you're watching these playoffs unfold, you're just reminded of how valuable wings with size who are plus defenders, how valuable they are once you get to this stage. The Knicks are now favored to win the East and make the NBA Finals. And the main reason might be Jalen Brunson, but among the other reasons are, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, like just switchable wings with size who are gritty, and Carter Bryant checks some of those boxes, perhaps not all of them. Obviously, I would have liked for him to be more productive in his 1 year at Arizona, but just like there's a list that has been created of guys who maybe didn't win in college, but still turned into great NBA players, Anthony Edwards being a good example of that. There's also a list of guys who didn't have to be great college players in the brief time they were on campus to become relevant NBA players. And I just can't ever get away from this. When Mikal Bridges is coming out of Villanova, people question whether you should use a top 10 pick on him because, he's just a role player, but he's just going to be a role player. Well, he ends up being picked 10th. And then you know what happens a few years later? Another franchise will give you 5 first-round picks for him and pick swaps and whatever else, because that's the guy you win with. He won't go to the Hall of Fame, but that's the guy you win with. Get your stars and then surround him with people like this. And I'm not saying Carter Bryant's going to turn into – I'm not predicting anything other than he's a type that every NBA franchise competing for the trophy needs. And at this point in this draft, he's the most interesting, that type of guy on the table.
Tough to see where he's going to go. This is obviously the best case scenario. Averaged 6.5 points, 4.1 rebounds. Only started 5 games for Arizona last season. In the 6'7.5", 220, 25 pounds overall. Wing with upside. You're taking a swing. If you're Portland in that spot, will be interesting on that end as well. Could be a player that really benefits from the combine, from the testing, all the stuff that guys go through there. But yeah, don't be surprised if you hear Carter Bryant's name go in the lottery. I'm not even necessarily opposed to it, but I find his stock to be something of a moving. He's a classic example of a player. These are unknowable things because you're not going to know what every team's draft board is. But Carter Bryant is the exact kind of player where in some draft rooms his name could be 9, 10, or 11, and if you were able to magically beam into other NBA, he might be 21, 26, and 33 on other draft boards. I think he will be all over the place, and it will very much be an eye of the beholder situation here. With the 12th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select Egor Demin, BYU, another player who I think has pretty wild variance. I think his best case scenario might be 9th or 10th, and I could see him going 19th or 20th overall. Big 12 all freshman, averaged 10.4 points, 3.9 rebounds, 5.5 assists last season. He's a shade under 6'9" without shoes on, and he's going to be he's almost definitely going to be a first round pick. I mean, and he'll be the first guy since Jimmer to do so, and this will start a run here of BYU having obviously first round picks. I like Demin to grow into a starting level point guard, point forward, however you want to define him. He was up and down at BYU from what he was expected to be, even more than his variances statistically were like even wilder swings than Jakucionis in my opinion. But I do like the long-term play overall. Bulls at 12 here. The question is from a team fit situation, and there almost definitely will be at least 1 or 2 teams in the lottery here that we're picking. They're going to trade out, so these players in these situations aren't going to be the same. But they're going to keep Giddey on the roster. Obviously, do they need a player like Demin? I'm not entirely sure. So from a fit standpoint, I don't love it overall, but I do like Demin being a lottery player here, and he was next up on my board.
With the 13th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Jase Richardson, Michigan State University. I like the idea that he could play either backcourt position, could play behind Trae Young. I think theoretically could play with Trae Young. Could be the type of player who develops in a way that allows you to move off of Trae Young if you decide you're tired of losing with him or not winning much of significance with him. So it just roster versatility, diversity, whatever buzzy word you like. Jase Richardson provides that. You mentioned earlier, I guess, with Dylan Harper about the son of a professional athlete.
Yep.
That's a real thing that front offices value. Put on a list of pros and cons in the pro category. They're not going to take you over an obviously superior prospect simply because your mom or dad played basketball at a high level. But they do like if your mom or dad not just played basketball, but was a professional athlete. In Memphis, we've got Jaren Jackson Jr., but they're sprinkled throughout professional sports.
Yes.
You could find it in Major League Baseball. You can find it in the NBA. You can find it in golf, frankly. You can find it anywhere. And among the reasons is not just genetics. That's some of it, I imagine. But a lot of it is just you grow up around it. You just know what it looks like to work and to be in the gym every day. And often these mothers or fathers, they'll have their kids just in the gym every day. How does Tiger Woods' son become an elite golfer? Probably because he had a club in his hand since the day he was born, and a course in his backyard and a simulator upstairs, and it'd just be hard not to. And if you're the son of a professional athlete or daughter of a professional athlete, you start a little bit ahead of the pack, and it is something that front offices actually care about. And that won't be the main reason Jase Richardson goes in the lottery, but it is a positive that his father was a veteran NBA player at a high level.
GP, I like this fit. I like this pick. Richardson is someone who shot mechanics needs definitely some just a little bit of tweaking. His handle is solid and can get even better, no doubt. He averaged 16 points in his final 15 games. Remember, he didn't become a starter until midway through the season, and then once he did, was a pretty prominent player and played over the second half of the season. I think it's fair to say Jase Richardson was a top 5-6 freshman in the country last season. And yeah, this particular fit here, I like what you did there. And I would, having his father being a 14-year NBA veteran and Jason Richardson, they don't play the same hardly at all, which makes it even all the more intriguing to me. But a really smart player and a really, really good fit there. We're only doing a lottery mock, folks, here. And don't worry, we'll have at least one, if not two more mock draft episodes in the pod for you by the time we get to the NBA draft. Shouts to Adam Finkelstein and Kyle Boone, both of whom have appeared on the show before and will again with some stuff. They'll do some stuff specifically for YouTube, but we'll get them in the feed with the show with us as well. But they're on the ground there in Chicago getting stuff done with the combine this week. So with that in mind, the last pick of the lottery, the number 14th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Danny Wolf, University of Michigan. I am way, way high on Danny Wolf. Will ace the interview process. Tremendous size. I didn't look at his official measurements here when they got measured yesterday, but he is a big boy. 7-footer, can pass extremely well. Very good offensive player. Averaged 13.2 points, 9.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.4 blocks last season. Shot 50% from the field. Improved defensively overall. I think he is a top 15 talent, and this is team fit as well. If you got Danny Wolf to add to San Antonio, good God, man! And if they were to keep the Harper pick, Wemby, on his way to returning here, that is a franchise that to me would absolutely have the pieces to be a comfortable playoff team next season as it continues to grow. Wolf is an awesome prospect. I love the way that he sees the floor. The turnovers are definitely an issue. He would have one or two every game where you'd happen to be like, man, you're better than that. Like we just don't need that. But his ability to step out and shoot, really score from all three levels, can use his body well on twists, curls, knows how to use the rim to his advantage there. And, is certainly a good enough defender as a 7-footer. No, he's not going to be as switchable as, Khaman, Maluach or anything like that. But for San Antonio specifically here, I like the fit. If that comes to pass and the Spurs have that pick at 14 on draft night and Wolf is on the board, I think long and hard about taking him. I think that he would be a wonderful addition there. And I'm as high on him as anyone as you'll find out there. I think he is set to be a 10+ year pro and probably will wind up being a guy, in my estimation, who probably gets picked, 2, 4, 6 spots too late.
Obviously, this is a mock draft, which is why I'm often hesitant to talk too much about. And if you get Dylan Harper and Danny Wolf and put them together because it's just like almost certainly not going to unfold the way this unfolded or any other mock draft unfolds in advance of the night of the draft. But that said, I mean, if you do end up with Dylan Harper and Danny Wolf, and you've already got Wemby, you're just gigantic everywhere.
Castle,
you're just big everywhere.
It actually, no, and we got to wrap here because GP's got to do his other show. Just to interject on that point, GP. The new coach, because Popovich obviously has stepped down, then it became just from a franchise, just following the NBA perspective, there is a ton of immediate pressure on a team, and taking over for Popovich, for Mitch Johnson there, that'll actually be a very interesting thing to watch play out there, because he's going to have the pieces. There will be no excuses if it breaks that way, or generally speaking, San Antonio should be a playoff team next year.
And I had Wolf 16th in my most recent mock draft, so I'm not far off from where you are right here. I'm a fan as well. Let's get out of here. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle. He's a legend. Huck, Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So do that, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Later on this week, in fact. Till then, take care.